Richard's going to quickly take my computer and throw it off the podium and put his in its place. So welcome, Richard. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Welcome. Good morning. That's great. So we're going to talk about this thing that I'm calling awesome teams. And an interesting idea I've had and been talking about with a few friends, continuous teaming, continuous team building, extreme teaming. Sort of these ideas have been coming out of Agile for a long, long time, like extreme programming. This is like extreme programming, but for people. This is going to be a little interesting, I think. That's me. I am Richard Kasperowski. Hi. I work mostly, well, here's what I do. I do a lot of things, but here's one thing I do. I like to help people build great teams and get great results. And I do that, I try to do that using tools like the core protocols, which is what we're going to share today, and Agile, and OpenSpace, and other things. And I want to share a few things with you today. Starting with this, I'm also going to try to tell a few stories. So, a year ago this week, like exactly a year ago, 365 days ago, I was with a group of new friends, people I didn't know before, and we got together for a week to take a class together. And we were even sharing a house together. We were in this beautiful place. We're in Woodinville, Washington. It's just outside Seattle. We're in this really cool house. We were taking this class in a big log cabin on a lake in the woods. There were pine trees. You know, it's northwest, so there was moss. There was this big lake. There were 2 bald eagles that lived on the lake. One day I looked out at the lake and I saw a bald eagle swoop down and like catch a fish and fly away. It's really cool. And in the midst of all of this, I had a dream one night. And my dream was about mediocrity. And how how much mediocrity I've contributed to the world, and how much mediocrity I've experienced in the world, and the teams I've been on, and thanks to me, maybe, we've been mediocre. Teams I've led, teams I've managed, teams I've coached, and mediocrity. There's a lot of mediocrity around. It's hard to avoid. And in my dream, I imagined, well, I had this dream. In my dream, there were a group of people who banded together to fight mediocrity. And they were so passionate about fighting mediocrity that they wrote a declaration against mediocrity. They wrote a manifesto of greatness. And they banded together as a guild to fight mediocrity, to fight their own mediocrity, to support each other in rising above that, and to support anybody else who wants to rise above that. And then 2 days later, it actually happened. So 2 days later, which will be a year ago tomorrow, the Greatness Guild was formed. And it all came true. The Manifesto for Greatness, 16 of us signed it in Woodinville, Washington. And we declared that we're not going to tolerate mediocrity within ourselves anymore. And we're going to support each other. And we're going to help anybody who wants to rise above that. And that was the birth of the Greatness Guild. And I just want to say happy birthday to the Greatness Guild. We're 1 year old. And a few of us are here today. There's me, there's Andrea Cho, there's Christoph Thibault. Another guy, Josh Gropp, is on the program. He'll be here later today. another guy, Harold Shinsato. He's going to be here to attend the Mob Programming Conference, so he'll be around. Ask us questions, hang out with us later on if you'd like to. Some of you have heard earlier versions of this talk, and I guarantee there are a few new things, so welcome back. Some of you have never heard this talk before, or anything like it before, so there are going to be a few new things. Welcome. Another thing that happened is right after the Greatness Guild was formed, the Scrum Gathering happened. So two of us, David Papini and I, went to the Scrum Gathering, and we shared the first version of this at OpenSpace a year ago at the Scrum Gathering. So you get to see the evolution of this, a snapshot of this 12 months later. I gave everybody handouts and worksheets, and if you turn the page and get a pen, you might want to follow along in your worksheet and take some notes as we go. So I want to have everybody think about the best team you've ever been part of. What's the very best team you've ever been part of? For me, maybe it's the Greatness Guild. What is it for you? And maybe even close your eyes and envision this team and try to go to that experience of being on that team or with this team. It could be a work team. It could be a sports team you were on. It could be a church group or a charity group or something. It could be your family. It could be a group of friends. What's the best team you were ever on? Everybody think about that for a moment. What's the best team you were ever on? And then what's one word you would use to describe that team, or one word to describe the experience of being on the team? How did it feel to be on that team? Collaborative. Fun? What was that? Invigorating. Family. What else? Unified. Seamless. Underdog. Relentless. Purposeful. Energized. Everybody say your word. Ready? On the count of three. What's the word that describes the experience of being on the team? 1, 2, 3. Supportive. Yeah. Right. All of that. And that feels good, doesn't it? And when I think back on the teams that have been like that, the best teams I've ever been on, I don't know how it happened. It seems like it might have been an accident or just some freakish coincidence. And I want it again, and I want it again and again and again. And I want to kind of know the recipe for making it happen again. And that's kind of what this is about. Do you want more of that? I want more of that. So I'm going to share some ideas for more of that. This will be a very practical guide to getting more of that, I think, including 12 guaranteed fun activities, and however many of them we can fit into the next 60 minutes. That's Harold Shinsato. He's a really cool guy. If you happen to get a chance to see him, I don't know if he'll be here at this conference, he will be at Mob Programming. Harold's like one of the smartest people in the world. I think Harold might be, he's definitely up there. He's one of the smartest people in the world. If you get a chance to talk to him, talk to him. You're going to learn something important. I got a chance to spend some time with Harold about a month ago, earlier this year. We went to the Agile Open San Diego conference. We spent quite a few days together. And we went to the Pacific Ocean, because that's what you do when you're in San Diego. And we stared out at the sunset and contemplated and talked. And one of the things we talked about, Harold says, remember Harold is one of the smartest people in the world. Harold says there are exactly three important things happening in modern Agile. And this phrase, modern Agile, has started to become kind of popular lately. This guy, Josh Kiryevsky, has been using this phrase, modern Agile, comparing the Agile of today to the antiquated Agile of our predecessors. And the idea is kind of like, actually use your brain. Don't just do what people told us to do 20 years ago. We've got a lot more tools now. We've got better tools. We know a lot more than we knew then. So use the new stuff. Don't just stick with the stuff from 20 years ago. That's modern Agile. Harold says there are 3 important things happening in modern Agile. One of them is called mob programming. That's the first one. And and we've got Woody Zuhl here. Hang out with Woody today, or come to the mob programming conference. Learn more about that. Harold says the second one is this stuff that we're doing right now in this talk, building great teams using the core protocols. And the work a few of us have been doing to share this for the last 12 months as part of the Greatness Guild and sharing these ideas around the world. And the third one is open space agility. And we've got a few open space agility people here. We've got Deb Potts and Mark Sheffield and Harold too. 3 people who wrote the book on open space agility. If you want to know about open space agility, talk to them. What's really cool about this weekend, this is part of why I'm so excited to be here this weekend, we get to do all 3 of these things here this weekend at Agile Games and at Mob Programming. Right? And we've even got one of the people who wrote the book on open space agility. She's facilitating our open space tomorrow. Deb Potts. So this is like a super cool place to be. You guys, I'm happy that we can all be here together doing the 3 important things in modern Agile this weekend. This is cool. And why this? Why now? Why great teams? Why awesome teams? Why continuous teaming? Why core protocols as a set of ideas for doing this? While we were at Agile Open in San Diego, 6 weeks ago maybe, there was this buzz going around the conference about what Google was sharing in the New York Times. So for the last 20 or so years, people have been doing, even for longer than that, people in business schools have been identifying characteristics of teams that they think might correlate to high performance. And they've been doing studies on